Welcome to the Book Boyfriend podcast, where we dish on everything from the alpha male to the sensitive soul. If you found yourself lusting after a fictional character, you've come to the right place. Here's your hosts, Faith Andrews, Elizabeth Grace, Livia Jammerland, and B.A. Wolf.
Hey there, welcome to Book Boyfriend Podcast. This is episode 7, where we are discussing Mia Sheridan's Archer's Voice. First, though, let's see what other girls are up to. Elizabeth?
Oh, okay. I just released a couple weeks ago Collateral Damage, which is the third book in my new adult series. And right now I'm just in the finishing touches of Indecision, which is an erotic romance that's going to be in Brenda Novak's Sweet Seduction box set to raise money for diabetes research. So what about you, Liv? What are you up to?
Hi, everyone. I am up to edits. I am knee-deep in edits. I am getting ready to publish Contingent, hopefully sometime in the very near future. But that's all I've been doing. What about you, Faith? What are you up to?
Hey guys, I am very excited because first came you, the novella Point 5 in the Fate series, the book before Feel Again, just went to the formatter. So we're on the right track. That thing is going to be released 5/5/15. And I'm really excited because I decided to do something I didn't think I'd be doing for a while, and I started writing Noah's book. So I'm really excited. I got about 2 chapters in over the last 2 days, and the words are just flowing. I'm loving revisiting him. So that's coming. I have no idea when. I'm not going to give any dates because I have no freaking idea. I'm flying by the wind and letting it just take me where it goes. So that's what I'm up to. What about you, Babs?
Absolutely nothing. It's been a good time. No, I have a couple things up my sleeve, but I'm not ready yet to commit and announce anything. So until then, mum's the word. But I would like to say happy St. Patty's Day to everyone out there who's got green on, girls, because I've got green on. Who's going to have to get pinched?
I got Guinness.
That works. All right, so tonight we're doing Archer's Voice. It's a fabulous book. The cover sucks you in right away. I'm going to go ahead and go over the blurb real quick. When Bree Prescott arrives in the sleepy lakeside town of Pillion, Maine, she hopes against hope that this is the place where she will finally find the peace she so desperately seeks. On her first day there, her life collides with Archer Hale, an isolated man who holds a secret agony of his own, a man no one else sees. Archer's Voice is the story of a woman chained to the memory of one horrifying night and the man whose love is the key to her freedom. It is the story of a silent man who lives with an excruciating wound and the woman who helps him find his voice. It is the story of suffering, fate, and the transformative power of love. This book was really touching, very moving, one that will stay with you, I hope, for years to come. It's one of those everyone calls it a life-changing story. You'll kind of find parts in it that will resonate with you, that you'll kind of see as, it's just a feel-good novel. So let's get into how they meet. Al?
Yes. Okay, so Bree has gone to a small Maine town. She's had some very upsetting things happen in her life, and she's just looking to get away for a bit. So she rents a cottage in a little town of Pelion, Maine, and she heads to the grocery store in her first or second day there, whatever, and she's getting a bunch of stuff. And in and amongst the things she gets is a whole whack of Almond Joy chocolate bars, and this is to tide her over for a few days, and some tampons. So she's leaving, and I can't recall if she bumps or she trips or whatever, but her bag falls and everything spews out all over the sidewalk, and it sends her tampons flying. Enter Archer. So this man bends down to help her pick up all her stuff, and she's thoroughly embarrassed because she has, tampons and a whole bunch of chocolate, which would probably indicate that she's maybe on her period. So she's embarrassed, and I'm just going to read a little blurb of what their first contact was, because it was pretty apparent to me when they first met that there was some type of connection between these two people, although Archer very much changes as a person, but also physically throughout the book. It's clear that there's something between the two. So Her first impression, she says, he was young and had shaggy, long, slightly wavy brown hair that was in desperate need of a cut, and facial hair that looked more neglected than purposely rugged. He might be handsome, but it was hard to make out exactly what his face looked like under the overly long beard and hair that fell over his forehead and down around his jaw. He was wearing jeans and a blue t-shirt that was stretched across his broad chest. The t-shirt had a message on it at some point, but now was so faded and worn that it was anyone's guess what it had once said. I took all of this in the brief few seconds it took me to reach for his extended hand holding the bottle of pain medication, at which point our eyes met and seemed to tangle. His were deep and whiskey-colored, framed by long, dark lashes. Beautiful. As I stared at him, it felt like something moved between us, almost as if I should reach out and try to grab the air surrounding our bodies, like perhaps my hand would come back holding something tangible, something soft and warm. Oh, so anyways, if that doesn't give you an idea of how just poetic Mia's writing is in this book, and how emotional it is, but I don't know, did you girls feel like you could feel something between them, like even though, you know, he's all shaggy and whatever?
Oh yeah, like you just, and because the novel starts off in his POV as a young child and you see what he's going through, you kind of already have this connection to him without him even saying a word to Bree. I think that's what I knew right from the beginning, that this book was going to be amazing.
I think that when she first sees him that first time, you know that something's up, something's not right with him, and we don't know what. And she makes her own assumptions, but there was a quote where she said, where you could tell that even though she knows that something's different about him, there's a connection because she's like attracted to him. So she says, I guessed that even slightly strange silent hermits weren't exempt from exceptional physiques. Like there's something there right away, and you could tell even on his side that there's something there, because from what you learn later on is that he's kind of a loner. So for him to even be out and helping her out, something's there. So I definitely sparks right away for me.
Total sparks right away, but here if it wasn't for the title, and the book's been around for a little while, so I kind of had the assumption of what was going on. But if I was just going into it, I would kind of been like Bree, like I wouldn't have known what was up. If like someone wasn't talking to me, I would feel completely embarrassed. I'd just be mortified, and he's got that little smirk like, you know, here's your stuff back. And so I wouldn't have thought anything was up. I'd have just thought, oh my gosh, I'm so mortified. It's me that he's making fun of. So those are, oh God, their first Me is probably one I'll never forget, just because it was so realistic. Like you could totally picture yourself dropping your tampons and your chocolate, and
that would happen to one of us, where you actually do trip and your box of tampons that sometimes when you need it takes forever to open, but in that moment when Archer's standing in front of you, it just goes everywhere. Like that would be.
They would be like the overnight supers, and you'd be like, awesome.
My mom told me to buy these.
Okay, ladies, so what were your thoughts on Bree? We've kind of gone over their meat and stuff, but what were your initial thoughts on her? Is she someone that you liked? Because sometimes heroines are hard to like right away. They're kind of wishy-washy, and sometimes you want to smack them upside the head with cake. What about you, Elle?
Yeah, I really liked Bree. I liked that she was obviously hurting and she was vulnerable, but she was strong, and I just thought that she was like a genuinely kind person just because of the way she... even before she really understood Archer and what was going on with him, how she was compassionate towards him, unlike some other people. What about you, Liv?
Well, I liked most about her, like you get to see in the beginning, you get to see parts of her that you kind of don't understand because she hasn't really explained it. She goes and she's telling you, like she's giving you hints about her past and why she decided to move over. But what I really, really liked about her was when he's sitting there and he can hear her, but he just can't speak. And I guess he signs to her. He's like, I can hear you. And she chooses to speak to him in sign language because that's how he speaks. And she wants to, get down on his level. And I thought that goes to show you how great of a person she is deep down to understand that, because her father was, he was deaf. What about you, Faith? What were your opinions on her?
I like that you said that it's hard sometimes to connect with a female, because I think this is Book Boyfriend podcast. We're always, swooning over the male. So sometimes the woman is kind of the secondary. But honestly, I don't think there's anything not to love about Bree. I think she's one of those, and you see it even in all the blog contests, when they do the contests with favorite leading lady, like she almost always is nominated because she's just one of those all-around characters. She has flaws, so she's not perfect, but with her flaws, she's looking for a fresh start, and I just love that she saw this vulnerable guy, this guy who these people in this new town are telling her is a loner, he's supposedly violent, and she just sees something in him that everybody else isn't willing to see. So I loved every single last thing about Brie, everything. What about you, Babs?
Okay, so the exact same thing. She's sweet, she's caring, but what I loved is most of these girls that we read in these romance novels, they're running away, they're scared, they're lost. But she wasn't doing it she was doing it, but she was trying to fix herself. She wasn't just running away to get away from everything. She was doing it to try and get some time to herself, to try and fix herself. I love that she also friended Anne right away. I think that it kind of shows what kind of person she is, that she's not afraid to make new friends, that she is that sweet, approachable lady. To me, she was completely relatable. Everything she did and said, I was like, oh, yes, I would totally do that too. Even spy on Archer through his fence, whatever. So, okay, let's get to the beef, the juice, the main squeeze event, Mr. Archer Hale. What were your thoughts on him, Liv?
Okay, we all know I kind of like them steamy, and I like them alpha, but what I really loved about Archer, he was handy. I know all the girls are going to tell you, he was swoon-worthy, and he was this, and he was that. He was handy. He was building stuff, and she would come in there, and he would have an axe, and he'd be in his shorts. I mean, that's what I loved the most about him, that he was just a handsy man. I kept telling Tim, go buy, my husband, I said, go buy an axe. I want you to go chop some wood. It's freezing out here in New Jersey, so we'll wait till the summer. But no, what I really liked about him was his apology to her. Later on in the book, you see that, they're arguing about whatever. I don't want to spoil it for you because I know we might touch on it later. But instead of apologizing with a note or flowers, he brings her a bouquet of almond joys, which is the chocolate he picked up with her tampons, which I thought that was kind of clever for a guy who's been such a loner for a long time. What about you, Faith? What did you like most about Archer?
I loved his vulnerability. I love that he was awkward. I love that he's standoffish, because I think it makes it that much more special when he opens up to Bree, because, again, you learn his past and you realize that he's kind of been this recluse for all these years, especially when you learn about his past. He's kind of stuck in this cabin with his crazy Uncle Nate, who is literally crazy, thinks that aliens are cats and all this crazy shit. So he kind of makes Archer not only more, he makes him more of a recluse, and I think that was part of his charm, because he evolves because of this woman, and this woman changes him, and we're women. What woman doesn't want to change a man to be the man that she wants him to be? So I think that the vulnerability in him, yes, he's sexy, he's hot, he's flawed, he has all these misgivings, and he has this disability, so to speak. So I think all of that wrapped up just made you sympathize with him as well as swoon over him, fall in love with him. What about you, Elle?
Pretty much all that. I'm a lot like Liv in that I really like a strong, alpha kind of guy. But that said, I also have equal love for a wounded man, somebody that's a tortured hero, as you might hear them called in the romance world. I love a tortured hero, and that was kind of Archer. He was wounded, but you could see that he had such strength inside him at the same time. And so for me, I think that's what drew me into his character to begin with. What about you, Babs? Did you go?
Oh, no. Me! Oh, forgive me. I got to tell you about Archer. Okay, so there were 3 things that I loved about Archer. I feel like Mean Girls here, where I'm writing on the chalkboard. You ready? So the first side, his gentle side.
He's fetch?
He's totally fetch. Oh my God.
It's not Wednesday. We're not wearing pink.
Toaster strudels. Okay, so I loved his gentle side. I loved that he wanted to learn. It's not every day you find a man who's willing to learn something. So when he even asked, Bree, what can you teach me? Loved that. Oh, and his humor. Okay, can we touch on his humor? Because he had such a humorous side, and I love to laugh, and he made me laugh so many times. There was this quote where Bree's over at his house cooking dinner, and he says, bonus for friends of mine, though, I have twirly straws in the cabinet right there. We can blow bubbles in our chocolate milk. I mean, he's so humorous, and he's not even like really trying to be. And then there's another one where he's texting her and he says, LOL, which incidentally in my case should be LOS, laugh out silently. I mean, he's that guy, and you just want to laugh and you want to hug him. But then can we talk about his hot bod? Like Liv said, he's handyman. So he's outside with his 12-pack, and I'm not talking beer, and he's working away with his axe. And then you have Natalie, who notices this too, which is Bree's friend. What in the hell is in the water around here? Some sort of mineral that creates ridiculously hot guys? I'm moving. Me too. You girls want to join me?
Hell yeah.
So then let's move on to Archer, the big elephant in the room, his virginity. Normally this is such a role reversal, so I felt like we needed to touch base on it. Normally it's the female who's the virgin and not the male. So this is very different. I loved her spin on this. What did you think about that, Elle?
It didn't normally. Okay, honestly, normally it would probably bother me. That's not like my thing because I like the guy who knows what he's doing in a book. Mm-hmm. But the whole time with Archer, I think probably because a lot of what Liv said, he's so handy, and it was very obvious, and Bree said it a lot in her head talk about how he's good at everything, and like when he starts something, he really masters it. So I didn't have any feeling like Archer was going to suck in the sack. I thought like he's going to be like 10 stars, like, you know. So I was okay with it for that reason, because like, you know, he rocked her world. So that was all well and good. What about you, Faith?
I loved it. I personally, first of all, you have to think it's relatable. He's this guy who hasn't been around civilization. So no, he hasn't screwed anybody. So you have to think of it that way. But I thought that it added to his charm. I thought that it added to him and Bree's relationship. Like, think about it this way. Think about this man being you're his only. Like, think about how Bree must feel. Like, she taught him how to do this. She taught him how to make love. And yes, he definitely was he seemed like he was in control. But then again, think about that scene when they're kissing and, you know, it happens prematurely, and he tells her, is that normal to happen only from kissing? And obviously we know it's not, and she kind of giggles about it, but the fact that he's so real and just like willing to learn from her about it, A-okay that he was a virgin, because she totally got to wear the pants, and I liked it. I loved it. Who didn't go? Do we have Liv yet? Who tell us about her idea about the virgin?
Okay, so when I first read it, I'm like, he's a virgin. I don't know. Is he gonna be good? Like, I was kind of like, maybe. But when she starts cutting his hair, and I remember I was reading because Faith and Elizabeth had read it before Barb and I had, and I'm sitting there and I'm PMing them on Facebook going, I'm going to start cutting hair. And I remember Faith emailed me and they were like, oh, okay, so you're adding more stuff on your to-do list because, you know, I want to add a whole bunch of stuff to do. And I'm like, no, this scene is just so hot. Like, she's cutting his hair and I'm just like, oh my God, I want to be in that book. So I completely turned my whole entire opinion about him being a virgin the second she started cutting his hair. And I was like, he's Archer. Like, he could be a virgin for all I care. I'm going to make him mine. Like, that was it. Like, so yeah, I got over it really, really quick. What about you, Babs?
So I loved it because it normally probably wouldn't work for me at all. And but it worked for Archer because he was so willing to learn. So he wanted to still, even though he wasn't in control, he wanted to learn so he could be. He could do what she liked. He could kiss her the way she wanted to be. He could touch her the way he knew that she would arch her back a certain way. Like, that to me is what made him being a virgin okay, because he was willing, he used his other senses. He got what she wanted, and all by using his other senses. It's just, I'm okay with it. Otherwise, had it not been Archer, no, probably not.
Can I touch on something just to go back? Imagine.
Touch it.
That's what she said.
Imagine being intimate with a man who can't speak, who can't, you know, he can't tell you anything, and all you have is, you know, the way he's touching you, the way he's kissing you, all his passion. That's all you're getting. Like, it must, like, just imagine just not being able to hear anything, just lips, like, you get to hear everything, and oh my God, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I feel like it's every woman's fantasy right there.
And like you touched on it, Barb, imagine being able to teach a guy what you like. Like, this is how I like to be kissed. This is how I like this. And this is how I like that. He's like your perfect cookie cutter. That's just my
Yes,
thought.
you're going to teach him everything you want. Hello. We all need an archer. Who's in line?
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Okay.
derail you.
No, that was fabulous. Okay, so we do a little segment here where we talk about how the moment that we fell in love with our book boyfriend that we discussed. So what was that moment for you, Elle?
For me, I think the moment I really, really fell hard for Archer was during the haircut. And, or no, sorry, no, it was before the haircut. He came out and he had shaved off his big, like, scraggly beard. And she was like, oh, like, you know, what's going on? Why did you do that? And he says to her, he says, but I want you to see me. An expression of vulnerability washed over his face. Now you can see me. And I thought it was, like, such simple words, but, like, really such a cry for probably what he's felt his whole life, is he just wants someone to see him for who he is. And so I was just so moved when I read that line, and so for me, that was when I really, like, fell hard for him. What about you, Liv?
I fell in love with him, and I know the other girls fell in love with him, but I'm going to say I fell in love with him, so we don't all have the same, when he dropped off the bouquet of Almond Joys, because that was just, you fall in love with him slowly throughout the whole beginning of the book, where, you know, he's leaving the gate open here, he's friendly with her dogs, he's friendly, like, you know, they have a dog, which I thought that was really cute, that he has, like, the dogs, and then they all pick out, like, super spy names for them. Like, he was just really sweet, but when he just gave her the bouquet of Almond Joys, I was just like, he's so perfect. That was my moment. What about you, Faith?
I love funny Archer. I mean, you got to think of it this way. You meet him in the beginning, and if you're really thinking in the moment, he's kind of creepy because he's this guy with this long hair, long beard. People are warning you about him. So how can you fall in love with that right away? Even though, you know, I fall in love fast with these book boyfriends. But then they're talking, and she automatically assumes that he's deaf because he doesn't speak, and he starts writing a note to her, and he says, I can speak. I just like to show off my nice penmanship. And I just thought and she says, is that you being funny? And like, so that started to be a running joke. And his funny was just so cute because you could tell that it was kind of a struggle for him. And I don't know. I loved everything about Archer, but when I fell in love with him was pretty early on when he started to be funny Archer. So that's what I felt. What about you, Babs?
I fell in love with him pretty early on as well. Surprise, surprise. But, probably the biggest moment for me was when she came over to his house to come cook food, and she ended up getting trapped in one of Nate's crazy traps. And she was screaming and freaking out, and he runs out there barefoot and all into these, I don't even know what they were. Were they like bushes and just
berry bushes, blueberry
bushes? Yeah. And so he's running out there, and he saves her, and he puts her on the couch, and he just holds her. And it was like, gosh, what a man. So, but then there's this quote. It says, and in that moment I knew I was falling in love with the beautiful silent man staring down at me if I hadn't already fallen. Beautiful. Gosh, I love her writing. It's so poetic.
That is true.
Okay, so the moment we fell in love, then that's going to lead us into our most swoon-worthy moment. What about you, Liv? What's your swoon-worthy aha moment?
This is so hard for me because, all right, so you girls are all going to hate me for going first, but here it is. They have a fight because Travis takes him to Teasers, the infamous.
Dude, you're stealing it.
Hey, you picked me first. I get to go first, so I'm picking the top one. So Travis takes him to Teasers, and he goes in the back with whatever her face is, and you know, he tells her whatever. Then they get into a fight, and then there's a thunderstorm, and Bree's father was killed, and it was raining, and so she associates rain with bad and whatever. So he wrote, oh crap, where did I put it? Seriously, I don't have it. Oh, here it is. Sorry. I know I'm probably the last person you want to see right now, but I thought if I sat on your porch, you wouldn't be scared, you wouldn't be alone. So it's pouring rain in Maine, and you know, he thinks, oh, she's going to be scared, she doesn't like this, and whatever, and I know we're not talking right now, we're not on speaking terms, but let me just, you know, as long as I'm sitting here on your porch, you know that you won't be alone. And I was just like, all is forgiven, who cares if you went to a strip club, I don't care. What about you, Faith? What is your swoon-worthy moment?
Oh, okay. Mine was shortly after they made love for the first time, and he signs to her. Again, I just love that he signed to her. I think we touched on in like I don't know how many episodes ago it was, but Karina Halley, when we did Love in English and Love in Spanish, Mateo speaks Spanish. It's a different language. Sign language is a different language. It's kind of sexy, you know, and he's using, again, Liv, using his hands, handyman. And yeah, he signs to her and he says, I didn't know enough to dream you, Brie, but somehow that came true anyway. And I was just like, oh my God, this man, he is so, like, you can't help but feel bad for him. This man who's been alone all this time and he just needed love, and this Brie is the only one to give it to him. This one girl is the only one to give it to him, even his own family and whatever. So that was my, oh my God, swoon, like totally swoon over him. What about you, Elle?
Well, Olivia stole mine, so
You can't sit with us.
my second one was after they had made love once. They're laying beside each other in bed, and he says to her, he says, hang on, sorry, where is it? He says, someday, I said, when we're old and gray, I'm going to look at you lying in bed beside me, just like this, and I'm going to look into your eyes and know that it's only ever been you. And that is going to be the great joy of my life, Brie Prescott. And I just thought, oh my God, imagine like some man says that to you. Like, I would just probably start crying if that actually happened. But so that was like my swoon-worthy moment. What about you, Babs?
So mine was stolen twice, but that's okay. He's just not swoon-worthy, okay? You have those magic moments. But honestly, for me, the real swoon-worthy moment was their first kiss. And you know it's something special because it is his first kiss ever. And the quote that goes with it was what caught me. Next time it wouldn't be the same. Once he had kissed me, his first kiss, this I knew, it would never be the same again. I drank it in, memorized it, made it a part of me. Like, she took his first kiss that he had and she drank it in because she knew it was his first. Imagine what he was feeling inside. Imagine how magical that was for him. So that was to me. And then, of course, you have the porch with the rainstorm and then the haircut scene. Those were wow. Okay, so what?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say what Jess said about, Faith said about sign language is that he can't speak, so every word he says to Brie has to be precise. It has to be something deep. So, because, it goes to show you in Mia's writing that everything he says to Brie is calculated. It's like, when he's saying these very swoon-worthy moments, and I think that's why he has so many, is because he has to, express everything he has through his hands, and you're just like, oh my God. Sorry. I'm like all over him all over again. Please continue.
Reread. Okay, now we've gone over some swoon-worthy stuff. There's some not so fabulous stuff that does happen in Archer's voice. What was your most upsetting moment, Elle?
My most upsetting moment was after I was like bawling. I was like, Trish from Schmexy was like mentally supporting me while I was reading this last year. And so I was like PMing her, and I got to this one part and I was like just bawling. She's like, what line is it? What chapter? And she knew exactly the one. So Brie and Archer get in a fight, and they're in the truck together, and I can't remember who's driving, but they pull over to the side of the road, and Brie gets out and takes off down the shoulder, and he's like running behind her trying to catch up. And when he gets up in front of her, he signs to her and says, don't run from me. I can't call to you. Please don't run from me. And it just like broke my heart. I swear to God, I like sobbed for 5 minutes when I read that. I was just like, I could picture it so vividly in my mind, and and him trying to like, he has to like physically get in front of her and stop her and sign and make her watch what he's signing because she's, pissed off and upset. And if she wants to just ignore him, she can very easily do that. So I just really felt for him in that moment. What about you, Faith? What was your heartbreaking moment?
Every one of his flashbacks just tore me apart. Like, he really did not have a good childhood, this poor boy. And just when you think he's getting a good childhood, it's like pretty into the book. You realize that he's getting away from the bad things in his life, and his mother and his dad or uncle are taking him away, and then this crazy accident happens that literally changes his life forever. And at the end of that sequence, this quote is, "I opened my mouth and screamed, but the room remained silent." And I literally cried. Like, I'm not a crier. I don't cry much anymore. It takes a lot for me to do that. But I really felt that for him. Like, imagine that. You're screaming. You're screaming for help. Like, we're girls. We scream for a lot of other things too. So imagine trying to be heard and not being heard. And it's just, it just broke, every one of his flashbacks broke me down, but that one really got to me.
That was tough.
What about you? Yeah, it was bad. Babs, what about you?
So we have teasers, which Liv kind of touched on, which was definitely one of those frustrating moments. But for me, the most upsetting was when he's young Archer and he's living with his Uncle Nate, and he's kind of creeping out towards the beachfront, and he sees his cousin Travis and the girl that he likes, Amber, on the beach, and he sees them he sees her and him hugging, kind of kissing, and he's kind of not spying, but he's just, observing is what I like to call it. He's not, doing anything wrong. Well, then Travis sees him, and they make fun of him and call him a peeping Tom, and he's broken, and you feel so bad for him because it's not what he's doing at all, and Travis just making his life a living hell. Oh, that man, I don't know if he's redeemable. I'm just saying.
I agree.
What about you, Liv?
So you girls touch on it all, but for me, teasers, since I can't pick all of you guys. I'm trying to be different here so our viewers can have, but the most upsetting for me was when Amber took him in the back room, and for that split moment, you didn't know exactly, did he screw her? Did he not screw her? And I was like, please don't turn up. Like, please. I'm like, you can't do this to Bree. Like, please don't. She's been through enough. That, to me, was my most upsetting moment, aside from what the other girl said. Did
you, read that part over and over again? I'm like, okay, wait. Did he? It doesn't say. Did he? I read it probably 5 times.
It wasn't even that. You know what bothered me about that scene, and I'm glad someone brought it up, was that he did not know any better. He knew no better.
Exactly.
This asshole tells him, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do this. Yeah, and
thanks.
Yeah, and it just, I'm like, that really hurt me. Like, that part, that he honestly believed it, because he doesn't know any better. So, this whole vulnerability thing that I love about him, in that moment, it was a curse and a crutch for him, and it's like, oh my God. But yeah, I'm glad someone brought that scene up, because was just like.
And then asshole Travis goes, oh yeah, and then Bree, she tastes just like peaches, and you're just like, oh, you're digging the knife in deeper, because now he thinks in the back of his head, Bree doesn't want to be with him because she's been with Travis, and he's like, well, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. These girls are just supposed to come in here and get on top of me? Okay. And I'm like, and you're right. Like, he doesn't know any better. This is a guy who hasn't been anywhere outside of his, home base and probably to the grocery store and back, and that's only recent because his uncle has died. That's why he's even leaving the property. So here he is, and he's getting tossed into a strip club nonetheless with the same girl that Travis he saw Travis with when he was 14 and was called a peeping Tom. So pissed. Such a pissed moment.
I know. There are so many upsetting moments, but we won't get into the end of the book. In case you haven't read, which you're living under a rock if you haven't read Archer's Voice. In case you haven't, we will leave the end as a surprise, let you figure out what happens on your own. We do have a few segments here on Book Boyfriend Podcast. Our first is I Wish I Wrote That. We are all authors, so we do read for the fabulous poetic words that other authors write for us to read. What was your I Wish I Wrote That moment, Elle?
Mine was
don't pick mine.
Probably
don't pick mine.
I have a bunch. I have a bunch here, but you know what? I really liked this line. It was as if my body was his instrument, and he learned to play it so perfectly that the melody vibrated within my very soul. I just really liked that. It was very poetic, and it was a nice way of saying, he gave her an awesome orgasm and rocked her world, but so much more poetic than that.
So much
so that was one. Yeah.
So
what about
Grandma
you,
could read.
All right, mine was, okay, let's see. Hopefully Barb and Faith aren't pissed, but sometimes an understanding silence was better than Sorry, I will repeat that because, we have Faith over there, who's really pissed at me at the moment. As I was saying, sometimes an understanding silence was better than a bunch of meaningless words. That is, I wish I wrote that. I wish I wrote that. What about you, Faith Andrews?
You bitch. You look at Love You Live. No, I love that. I love that line. I mean, I had two.
It's so powerful. Like, it's just...
it's powerful. It's short, sweet, but powerful. So that was... And it summed up the book because, think about it, he can't speak. So, I had two. So that was my, like, oh my God, I wish I thought of that. But my other one was a funny one. And I think... Who says it? I don't know if it's her friend Natalie or her. I would have to look back, but it's, good Lord, building stone patios, chopping wood, and walking everywhere was a workout video he needed to put out on the market. And I thought it was cute. That's why. So she stole my shit.
A handy man. That's what you need.
What about you, Babs?
Okay, nobody stole mine, and I even had two, so there's that. Okay, so mine is, I had his heart and his thoughts in him, and it was more than enough. In fact, it was everything.
Oh,
I agree.
Perfect. Like, I love those swoon-worthy quotes. Was that one on yours?
Oh, no.
No, I did.
Oh, sorry. Who was speaking?
Sorry. I had another one, and since no one said it, I want to say it.
Do it.
And it says, and her love slips quietly around me, holding me, anchoring me, reminding me that the loudest words are the ones we live.
Yeah. Can we just read the whole book?
Yeah.
All right, so our next podcast moment is casting, which is probably one of my favorites because Elle always brings good men to the party. So we're gonna save her for last because this is always fabulous. So what about you, Faith? Who's your Archer Hale?
All right, if I recall, the last time we did this, someone blurted out erection selection, and I really like that better.
I did.
Yeah.
I said this is our erection selection. And Babs. Yeah.
Yeah, we're totally not calling this casting anymore. We're calling it
erection selection.
Erection selection. Okay. Love it. I'm switching it right now. Are you watching this?
Yes. You look like Christian Grey. Scratch that. Okay, so if I had to pick an erection selection for Archer Hale, I am picturing... Picture this, Sons of Anarchy fans.
That's all I'm picturing right now.
Yes, picture this, Sons of Anarchy fans. Jax Teller in, like, season, Liv, help me out, like, season, like,
3.
5. Oh, no, 3 he already cut it, I think.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going 4. He's got, like, the hair, the light hair, and the stubble.
The scruff.
The scruff. Totally, Charlie Hunnam is my Archer Hale. That is exactly who I see, and I'm not going back on that. Elle was saving for last. Liv, who's yours?
Well, here's the thing. Charlie Hunnam does, but in my head, was Archer dark hair or just that, like, okay. So that's what I'm like. Charlie Hunnam is kind of blonde, but I do see the scruff that he had. Mm-hmm. So I will take Charlie Hunnam and mix him with Decker. What's his name, Barb?
Eric
Decker. Like, that to me, because Eric has, like, the full scruff during football season. And so I can mix them both together. What about you, Babs?
Okay, so I think he's been noted as Kellen Kyle from the Thoughtless series by Essie Stevens. But to me, he's Archer Hale. He's my erection selection is Devin Paisley.
He's hot.
Fabulous, and I wish I could pull up a picture. I don't think it would come up in time. No pun intended.
I'm looking him up now. Ooh.
Thank you, right? If you don't know this man, he, to me, is like he's that silent brooding type where he doesn't really have to speak anything. You can just visually see it. Mm-hmm. All right, drum roll, please. Elle?
Okay, I picked so I had 2, and I whittled it down to 1. So I picked this gentleman.
Oh, yep.
Ooh. Who cares about me?
Yeah, there you go. Full frontal.
His name is Hollis, and I'm sorry, but I forgot his last name. But if you go in Love and Books...
He doesn't need one.
I think it's actually her boyfriend, maybe. But anyways, yeah.
Hollis Thompson? No.
Nope. No. I want to say Mick something, but I could be totally wrong. If you go to Love in Vegas, Love and Books, I think it's actually her boyfriend, because I read an interview with him, and she was joking around saying, like, here's an interview, but he's mine, kind of thing. So
wow.
And if that's true, then I don't blame her one bit.
No.
So that's my erection selection. But I also think if you watch Arrow and Stephen Amell, who's Canadian, I just have to say it, he would also be a really good archer. So those are my picks.
Fabulous. All right, our last segment, Kiss, Marry, Do. We have a fine selection here this time. It almost makes it a little bit harder. Again, no pun intended. We are romance writers. I cannot help it. Okay, our selection, ladies, is Mateo, Phoenix, Casey, Alec, and Archer. And if you want to throw in there Mr. 50, you can, because we did discuss him. So we're going to chuck him in there if you want him. I mean, who doesn't, but you know. So what about you?
Yeah.
What about you, Faith? Go for it.
Okay. This was very easy for me. I'm sorry. It was. I'm kissing Casey from Bait. He was just like, woo, that dude knew how to kiss. I'm marrying Archer. Who the frig doesn't want to marry Archer? He's like everything. I want to learn sign language today. I am doing Christian Grey because I need to experience that world. I really do. I'm totally vanilla. I need to do the whole Christian Grey thing. That's my choice. Kiss, marry, do. Casey, Archer, Christian Grey. What about you, Liv?
I'm not liking this segment anymore. I think we need to add more categories. Like, okay, I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to do you. I'm going to have, like, an affair with you. You're going to be, like, my booty call. Like, you're going to be my booty call. You're the guy I hit up on Fridays. I need all of those because it's getting harder and harder. And, gosh, this is so hard because everybody knows how much I love Alec from Penelope Ward's Stepbrother Dearest. He's been my top guy since the get-go. So I'm going to kiss him. I know. I'm going
Sorry.
No. I'm
so
swap. We're going to swap. We're going to swap. I'm going to kiss Archer. Okay, yeah, I'm going to kiss Archer. I'm going to do Alec because I still have to lick some Lucky Charms. Hello, it's St. Patty's Day.
Hello.
And I'm going to marry Mateo because I really want to live in Spain. Okay. What about you, Elle?
Okay, so I am going to marry Archer because I just loved him so much. I'm going to do Mateo because I want some of that sweet Spanish lovin'. I'm going to go drinking with Casey because I think he'd make a good drinking buddy. I'm going to take Phoenix shopping. We're going to do some shopping together. I think that Alec and I will probably 69. And I'm going to do some kink with Christian. So he's going to introduce me to that world.
Oh, that was great. Oh. That was great.
I hate that you had time to do that.
That was fantastic. And I'm pretty sure you're wrong because I'm marrying Archer. So there's that one. So you can, I don't play sister wives. So I'm going to marry Archer. We all know how I felt about Mateo. So Phoenix, we can go look at some art together. But otherwise, I'm going to have to say kiss Casey, marry Archer, and do Alec because you wouldn't want to not do anything with him. Like you have to have him in there somewhere. And he's too good for just a kiss. You need to ride that a little bit longer, right?
Yeah, somebody needs to, like, knock Alec down a little bit further because, I don't know, something about the Lucky Charms. I just want to lick them.
Like, I want him to wear his glasses and maybe we could read a little bit of books and then, So
he could steal my underwear, hide them in different places, like, hello,
in the
Alec.
Pringles container, and I do love Pringles. Cheddar are my favorite. So I feel like there's something there.
Cheddar underwear.
All right, ladies, that was fun. Wow. Okay, so before we close this, a few things. Stay tuned for our interview with the fabulous Mia Sheridan. It is wonderful. It will be up next. Please also stay tuned for March Madness. This is something new for us. We will be sharing, each of us have read different books by different authors for the month of March, and we'll be doing segments on our own, so stay tuned for those as will air probably next week. Please head over to bookboyfriendpodcast.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and iTunes. Hit us up anytime with a book boyfriend suggestion. We're always looking for some delicious man. And most importantly, we are not a blog. We do not review. We are just 4 author friends who love to read and gossip about everything that we do. But we'd love to hear from you, so please do let us know how we're doing and what you'd love more of. Until next time, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Bella.
Hey, everyone. If you're just now joining us, we have been so lucky to get the very famous, very talented, very adorable Mia Sheridan on the show with us. So yay. Let's give her a round. Mia, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got into writing.
Hi, so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, but originally from San Francisco, California. So I've not too recently become a Midwestern girl. And I really kind of started writing by accident a little bit 3 years ago. I was going through a really rough time. I had lost a baby girl. And I started writing a blog about it, just about my experience with that, kind of, to help family and friends keep up to date on what was going on with us, and kind of a way to express myself. And a lot of people, kept saying, "Oh, you should write a book. You should write a book." And so I wasn't really ready to write on that topic at the time, but I had, been reading a lot of romance and had always loved that genre. And so I decided to try my hand at romance, and that's kind of where it all started. And now 7 books later.
Well, we love you for it, and I'm an avid follower of your blog. I absolutely love it. So I do want to get into it because we just got done reading Archer's Voice, and that's why we're here tonight. So how about you tell us a little bit about Archer? How did you come up with the idea? How long did it take to write?
Oh, gosh, Archer. Archer kind of came about because I had just read, 3 or 4 books in a row where the heroes were kind of all really similar, kind of blended together for me. And I thought, I'd really like to write a hero that's different in some way and, has something going against him, but that something doesn't make him less lovable, but makes him more lovable. And so I just kind of started thinking about who that might be, and that's how Archer was born. And I think it took me about 2 months to write the book or so. It usually takes me about 2 or 3 months to write a Sign of Love novel, and then about a month to edit. So.
Oh, wow. You're a quick writer. Oh,
is that quick? I never know if that's quick or not quick, but yeah, if I write every single day, if I kind of keep myself on track, that's generally how long it takes.
What do you try to achieve as far as word count? I know we're kind of getting off of Archer's topic, but I'm curious.
No.
I'm intrigued.
I try to do 1,500 to 2,000 words every day, and sometimes it's a struggle, and sometimes they really flow. But I try to average that when I'm on a writing schedule. That's my goal.
Can I ask, Mia, was there a reason, how did you decide to set the book in Maine? And I ask because I'm a huge fan of Maine, and I've spent some time there, so I'm wondering, was there a specific reason you picked Maine, or was it just, toss up, I need a state, I need somewhere, I'm going to pick Maine?
I can't even remember the exact reason I decided to pick Maine, other than that my husband's family has a cabin there, and he had spent lots of summers there as a kid, and so I knew all his stories, and I had been to Maine several times, and it's beautiful, and I love it there. So I think I really wanted to set the story on a lake. I wanted it to be sort of a tourist retreat in a really peaceful place, and Maine was the first place that came to mind.
Awesome.
Can I
jump in? Yeah, go right ahead.
I'm sorry. Are we on lag?
No, you're not.
Very good.
Okay.
not only have I read Archer, but I loved Stinger. So
Thank you.
I know that you're into the whole zodiac sign thing, and I just want to know if there's any significance in that for you with the whole, the whole series with all the zodiac signs.
Not really. I mean, it is kind of a little bit of a fun sort of gimmicky thing, and but it does provide me some inspiration sometimes. When I'm trying to come up with a backstory or something like that, I'll read the legend of the sign that I've chosen, and something in that will spark a part of the backstory. So it can be useful, but generally I come up with the story first and kind of wrap a sign around it, because I always think people are a lot more interested in the story than the little blurb or at the front of the book. So it's just something fun, I think.
Definitely.
Wow. Now, I know we're not trying to talk about the movie, but let's jump into it. Can I play Bree?
Absolutely. Yep.
I want to play Bree. Like I will totally learn anything you need me to. I'll dye my hair whatever color. I thought she was fantastic. It's really hard to write such a very powerful hero and then have her, compliment them so well. I thought they were perfect together. And my question for you as an author, away from Archer and away from everything else, has there ever been a time that you wanted to quit? Just because, we're all authors here, and sometimes it gets to that point of that road where you feel like you hit dead end. And do you ever feel like, or have you ever felt, of course not now, because now you're, when you were struggling, when you were first coming as a writer, did you ever feel like you wanted to quit?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like that now sometimes, every time for a lot of different reasons. Every time I finish a book, I'm like, that's it. I'm tapped out. I don't have there's nothing else there. I can't come up with another story. Like that's it. The well has run dry. And then inevitably my brain will start, working on something, and I'll come up with something else. But it's hard because it's a job that you don't really get a break from. If you're not writing, then you're on social media answering questions, which can be wonderful, but it can also be a lot and overwhelming and hard to separate, from checking reviews. And I've had to put some sort of guidelines in place just for myself that keep me sane. And I think it helps with that feeling, like I want to quit every day for some reason or another. And it can be emotionally taxing too. It's a job where people are constantly judging you and critiquing you and that kind of thing. So, and that's difficult for me personally. I've kind of had to learn how to cope with that. Just as somebody who kind of always wants people to like me, and that's not going to happen in this business.
Not if you're on Goodreads.
And so, that's difficult. And so, yeah, I want to quit all the time. But have I ever considered it really seriously? No, not yet. But
no, you shouldn't. Absolutely not. You're too talented. Absolutely.
You better not.
Can I jump in there? Kind of piggybacking on Liv's question, do you have any advice for authors? Some that are trying to make their way into the indie world, some that are, somewhat established in the indie world, and do you have any advice for them that maybe you were given too?
I wish that I had been given more advice or had a way to access more advice when I started, because now, the best advice that I get is from other authors in the business, and the best support that I get is from other authors in the business. But of course, starting out, you don't have that, and you don't generally know anybody else. So I guess I don't know a lot about marketing. I don't do a lot of marketing. So whenever people ask me, what's your marketing plan, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I need help. Somebody help me. But as far as advice, I guess what I would say to somebody just starting out is pay attention to what you like. Don't pay attention to what you think you should like, because I think that the things that really hit us or inspire us, or the things that move us, are the things that we're going to be able to do the very best, and those are the things we're going to end up liking the very best about our writing. And if you can access that, and if you can tap into that, then the people who end up following you are going to be of a like mind, and those are going to be, you know, your audience, your tribe, your the people who really love what you do. So I guess that's what I would tell somebody
I
starting
love
out.
that. We're going to put that on a plaque, and we're going to put it in all of our offices.
And every time I doubt myself, I'm going to replay this interview and be like, that's because Mia said that.
I'm going to tattoo it on my arm, people. That was wonderful, because I know sometimes we get into this mindset where we feel like, oh, okay, this is what's selling, but you want to write what's in your heart. You want to write what you love, and I think that you just reaffirmed that. So I hope all the authors out there listening tattoo it on themselves too.
Thank you.
Actually, kind of along that lines, Mia, I'm sure it probably had to be somewhat nerve-wracking because, like you said, Archer is a different type of hero. And I'm wondering, were you surprised at how much people really fell in love with Archer and his story and just really became fanatic about him, given that he wasn't the typical like alpha male, like, you know, kind of hero?
Yes, absolutely. I actually, I don't think I've ever really been afraid to publish because it's just kind of exciting. You don't know what's going to happen, and you know, you've come to the end of that part of the journey, and so to put it out there, you know, it feels good and celebratory. But with Archer's Voice, I literally cried the night that I published it because I felt so utterly protective of him, and I thought it was kind of like sending my, you know, child who was a little different in some way into the playground and knowing that he was going to be hurt by somebody. And so I felt like, you know, nobody's going to like him, nobody's going to understand him in this sea of alpha men. He's just going to get his ass beat. And so, yes, I absolutely was very, very shocked and happily surprised that he's been as embraced as he's been.
It took me a year. I mean, I kept hearing it all over, and I was, you know, writing myself.
From who?
I even got a threat. Read this damn book already, and I'm like, I will. I promise. It's been on my, you know, my TBR for forever. So I finally read it, and what made you decide? My question, to make him lose his voice. Was that something that I know you wanted? You know, what was opposed to like making him lose his hearing, but the voice, was it like something that just came to you, or was it something that, you know, you just thought it would be different?
Yeah, when I originally thought of him, I thought the thing that I wanted to make different about him was a disability. And so I kind of just started thinking about that. And I had read several books where the hero was either deaf or was mute by choice. But I hadn't, and I know they're out there for sure, but I had never personally read a book where somebody was mute because of a physical issue. And so that's just kind of why I chose that one, because I hadn't personally read of another hero like that or even another character like that. And I wanted to try to do something, you know, that was at least new to me and different for me.
That was brilliant. Loved that. Definitely something different you don't see every day. So that was perfect.
Oh, definitely.
Mia, question. I'm going, and feel free to say you don't want to answer it, and we'll just edit it out. But I'm assuming, because of the success of Archer, that you had to have been approached by some traditional publishers. I'm just going to guess that, because you've had such success, you know, and we're all in the indie book world, so we know that the people that, like, reach that stratosphere generally are approached. And as far as I know, you're not going traditional. So if that's the case, and if you're comfortable answering it, I'm just wondering why you decided to stay indie.
Yes, I was. I think the first agency that contacted me was right after Leo made USA Today 3 years ago, and I don't know. I just felt like, and I currently still do feel like, going that route will kind of take some of the enjoyment and the joy out of it for me personally. You know, working on a deadline and working with other people who might have a different vision for my voice or what I do than I do. And that's not to say that I don't have a lot to learn or that you know, I couldn't improve in lots of ways. But I just think doing that, going with a traditional publisher would make it feel more like a job to me and more like work to me, when right now it's really brings me a lot of happiness, and I do it when I feel it, and I don't write a book when I don't feel it. So that's kind of been the reason that I've decided not to go traditional, at least for now.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Thank
you for
that was the most beautiful answer, because I mean, I personally started to write for pure joy. Like, I never expected to do anything, and to hear somebody has such, has such high success as you do, just go, no, I want to do it because it doesn't feel like a job. You're like, wow, like that feels like a breath of fresh air. It feels amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Well, can I jump in and be the nosy one and ask about the movie then?
Because
I am so excited about this, and the minute we heard about it, like, not only am I excited because of the movie, but I feel like it couldn't have happened to a nicer person and someone who, like, truly deserves it. And you just seem so humble, and I don't know, is there news you can share with us, and how much involvement are you going to have in the making of the movie?
Well, thank you so much. The way it was explained to me is that I will have input, but I will not have the final word on anything. And so the woman who bought the option for the movie has been really, really great at keeping me up to date on everything that's going on, and everybody that she's been meeting with and things like that. But right now it's still in the really early stages, and a script has not been written yet, but that's the next step, and she's looking right now for the right person to do that. So I think that, once those kind of things start coming together, it'll feel more real to me. But right now she's still kind of doing the groundwork, and so there's not a whole lot of exciting news just yet, but hopefully really soon.
And we can officially say Livia Jamerlin will be playing Bree. Just saying.
First press release, yes.
Just kidding. Or at least in my head I will. Every time when I go to see the movie, I'll close my eyes and just imagine it's me.
one of the bystanders on the lake.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm okay with
I would
that.
be an extra, no problem. I could be like Phoebe's dog walker, like on set. Like, that's fine.
You can dress me as Anne. I mean, we can age some years. I think I have a gray wig.
Actually, one of the things that Lauren, that's the woman's name who bought the option, said to me initially, and one of the things that kind of sold me, was that she said, I can't wait to see the production company build his house. And I thought,
oh yeah,
oh my God, like, how exciting and amazing would that be? So that was that's the dream for me right now. Even whether ever becomes a movie, if they can just build his little house, I'll be perfectly happy.
Oh,
I just want to watch him build it. Can we get an archer to build it?
Yes.
I just want to see that 12-pack putting those rocks.
Right.
So Mia, you don't have to tell us who, because that might be weird if somebody else is not that person, but I'm assuming, do you have somebody in mind that you would like to, like, ideally in a perfect world, to see cast as Archer and Bree?
I really don't, and I had a really, really hard time. I tried to, do a casting initially when a lot of blogs were asking me to send a picture of my casting for Archer, and I, scoured Google just for a face even that I thought captured him, and I really had a hard time even finding the right look, I guess, for Archer, or at least what I pictured in my head. So I don't know. I mean, I'm waiting to see, just like everybody else, who's gonna pull this off. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we're so excited. I'm excited to see.
I know.
I can't wait.
Me too.
It's gonna be fantastic.
We're all gonna have to get together and do like a huge movie premiere party.
At Archer's house. Like, we're friends with Mia now. Can you bring us on set?
In the bushes of Archer's house.
We are awesome.
Now,
question for you. Do you have a favorite book that you read when you're in a slump, or when you just feel like you need that good soul read? Do you have one of those?
Not really. I've never reread a book. I'm just not a rereader. Yeah, no, I don't know. I definitely have books that have moved me in a way that I'll remember them forever and ever, and they'll, forever be the book that left me in a sobbing heap on my bed. But I don't reread books.
You have a fantastic memory. Very.
No, and I don't even remember anything about them other than the fact that I was a sobbing heap. I don't remember the dialogue or anything, just the emotional toll.
Does anyone have any extra questions for me, or should we get to what she's working on now?
Yeah, I
to
know what
the
she's
good
working
stuff. So Mia, what are you working on now? What can you tell the readers? Give us a glimpse into the future.
Well, my next project is definitely the eighth, is it the eighth Sign of Love novel? But I don't really have a story yet. I haven't really started writing. It's kind of still in the works in my brain, which I usually do. I usually kind of think about my story and come up with little scenes and stuff like that for a good month before I ever start writing. So some of that is in the works, although nothing has been put on paper. But I think the next sign is going to be Libra, although I won't put that in stone. But thus far, I think that's the plan. So I'm just watching a lot of Netflix right now.
Ooh.
And
What are you watching?
What are you watching?
Well, actually, I just started watching Glee with my 9-year-old daughter because she wanted me to find a show that we could watch together. Although it's not entirely appropriate for her all the time, but we've kind of watched that whole season, and I have some recommendations of other TV series that people want me to start watching. But movies and just lots of stuff with my kids.
Oh, that's perfect.
Letting everything
So
soak
it is.
in. That sounds good.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
You can't just
Marinate.
pull things out. Yep. You gotta wait for it to brew.
Yeah.
Well, Mia, we can't thank you enough for joining us on Book Boyfriend Podcast, and thank you so much for being Archer's mommy and giving us to him, for giving him to us.
Thank you for having me.
Giving us to him. That's
Fangirling over here, okay? I'm like shaking. So we thank you so much, and we look forward to all of the fun stuff in the works.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you
Mia.
for having me. This has been
Mia.
awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
We so appreciate it.
Yes, we so appreciate
And
it.
you have a fan in me now. Like when I see you in Atlantic City, be prepared. I'm going to attack you.
Thanks for joining us. You can find out who will be on upcoming shows and what books we'll be discussing, as well as more about our hosts at www.bookboyfriendpodcast.com. See you next time when we add another boyfriend to the ranks.